Hello. Hi guys. Hope you're doing well on this lovely Sunday afternoon. Just wanted to do a review of the AFUL Performer 5. These were very kindly sent to me by HIFIGO.com. HIFIGO is the sole retailer for the Performer 5. A little bit about AFUL. The company is a Chinese domestic brand. They have a few years of IEM making experience, but this is their first international release abroad, and it is only sold through HIFIGO. If you are interested in the Performer 5, after this review, I will link to all the retail stores. There are 3 links that I have. So the HIFIGO store, I have the Amazon link, and then the AliExpress link in the description. I do not get any kickbacks from any of those links. This unit was kindly sent to me by HIFIGO for my honest review. So all things said in this review are my opinion and my thoughts alone. I was not told to say anything, and I was not paid for this review. So just want to make that absolutely clear for you guys. I do not take any sort of guidance from any companies that send me these products. They send them to me, and I make my review, and if they like them, they like them, and if they don't like it, then too bad, and I guess I'll have to buy them next time myself. So just wanted to let you guys know that. I have a few notes here on my phone for the review, so I will just go over those. For anybody that doesn't know, you can follow me on my Facebook account. Just Google or just look up first name Hi, like H-I, and the last name Fry. So Hi-Fri, and you can find me under that name, and you can see pictures of all my teardowns, all my crazy stupid little projects that I have going on here, and some of my reviews. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the AFUL Performer 5 is a 5-driver hybrid. It consists of 1 dynamic driver and 4 balanced armatures. 2 balanced armatures are for the treble and 2 are for the mids. It features a 35 ohm sensitivity, 35 ohm impedance, 110 dB sensitivity. Its frequency response is rated at 5 to 35 kilohertz. The passive noise reduction is 26 dB. And the cable length is 1.2 meters. For anybody that doesn't care to watch all the way through the review, or if you're in a hurry, so based on price, alright, these were released or announced at $219. So as far as my rating goes, based on price, and kind of where they sit compared to other IEMs in the price range, I gave the bass quality a 7 out of 10, mid-range quality a 9.5 out of 10, treble quality 9.5 out of 10, the stage width a 9 out of 10, stage depth 7.5 out of 10, stage height 7 out of 10, female vocals 8 out of 10, male vocals 8 out of 10, resolution is 7 out of 10, separation is 8.5 out of 10, and the layering is 8 out of 10. And I'll kind of go into a little bit about why I gave it those ratings, and then kind of talk about the technology that goes into these, if you guys didn't already see the last video. And then finally, in a couple days, I will have a teardown video of these where I'll go a little bit more into depth about how they are designed, the tuning principles that kind of went into them, and I'll just go a little bit further. I don't think I'm going to do a full teardown, and the only reason why I say that is because I really like these a lot, and I don't want to ruin them. I would like to continue enjoying them, so pretty much what you can look forward to are the face plates coming off. I will examine the crossover inside. We'll take a look at the back of the drivers. If for whatever reason I'm able to remove the drivers, I will try. If it is going to be too difficult or it looks like I'm going to damage the drivers, then I will not proceed any further. Just because, like I said, I would like to keep these in a working condition. I do not want to break them. So, let's see, where to begin. So as far as some of the pros to this set, it has a pretty decent bass response. There is a little bit of wackiness as far as the texture goes, and they lack what do you call it? They lack like punch and slam. Like they lack a little bit of dynamics. Nothing crazy. It's nothing like, oh man, the bass. No, it's not. They're not bad by any stretch of the imagination. They're just not the greatest, especially for the price. There are IEMs that have better bass quality, but taken as a whole, I firmly believe that these are the best IEMs that you will get for the price, up until like the Blessing 2 or the Blessing 2 Dusk. So there's no doubt in my mind that these are the best IEMs for the money, in my opinion. But as far as the bass quality goes, there are IEMs that have better bass. Even IEMs that are like half the price have better bass, but it's not by much. And the quality of bass that these present is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's just different. So I'll go a little deeper into that if you guys are curious. But just to continue further as far as the pros go, the mid-range performance is excellent. It's very good. It's very rich. It's very smooth. It's very musical. It's very engaging. It's very enjoyable. No complaints about the mids whatsoever. The only thing that I would have liked to seen from the mids, maybe a little bit more resolution. They are a little bit on the soft side and like kind of like a pillowy texture, but when taken as a whole and you listen to their presentation, I can see why they did it, and it actually blends very nicely with the treble and the bass. So the treble extension is excellent. The quality and the performance of treble is excellent for the price. They have lots of air. They're very smooth when they need to be. They're very crisp when they need to be. There's obviously a lot more resolution in the treble compared to the mid-range. And then another one of the pros is that overall they are very, very smooth. So I would call these a smooth operator to be sure. Bass is very smooth. It's a little bit on the rubbery side. It lacks a little bit of impact. It lacks a little bit of definition, but only in like a little area. Basically from like 10 to 30 hertz, the bass is pretty good, and it starts getting that sense of dynamics and impact back, like that sense of slam. But then once it goes, or sense of punch, I should say. But once it goes from like 30 hertz to from like 30 hertz to like 80 hertz, it gets a little bit rubbery. So it's kind of almost like springy, or like rounded. So as far as like a kick drum goes, there's no like real like punch, and so it lacks a little bit of that. But as far as the speed goes, I have no issues with the speed. The speed's fine. It's just the texture of the bass, and it is the like the definition of the bass. So and the dynamics. The dynamics are just kind of off a little bit. But then once you get from 80 or 100 hertz up to 200 hertz, so once you get into the mid bass region, the bass it's like the speed catches up with it, and it's communicated in a rather fast, technical, natural way. Still lacks a little bit of dynamics, but overall, the texture is kind of regained a little bit. So, so there's just this little segment where the bass is not pretty, it's kind of like ill-defined, and it's a little bit more bouncy than anything, a little bit more rubbery than anything. But like the really, really low lows are good, and the mid bass is good. But for anybody who is a sub bass enthusiast, they may not want to consider these as a daily driver. Also, I tried, they do not respond well to EQ as far as bass goes. Everything else is fine. If you want to EQ the treble, if you want to EQ the mids, that is all fine and good. But the bass does not accept EQ whatsoever. It does not like it. It does not want it. So whatever tuning you get with the bass is what you get. You can raise the level a little bit, but that will not increase the quality, and it'll just make it stand out more, and I do not recommend it. Let's see, my phone turned off here. So yeah, so overall they're very smooth in their presentation. The mids are extremely smooth. Like I said, they're smooth, they're detailed. Resolution could be a little bit better, but overall the mids are very, very high in quality. Same thing with the treble. The treble is very high in quality and is very good. If anything, there's a little bit of BA timbre, especially when you listen to it at louder volumes, but for the most part, the treble is smooth, and like I said, when it needs to be, it's crisp. I have no complaints there at all. So another pro would be solid stage and imaging. So as far as the presentation goes, the image is extremely wide. It's almost wide to the point that it folds back in on itself. So if you're the type of person that listens to a lot of like ASMR, or you listen to binaural recordings, that kind of stuff, I would actually highly recommend these. If you listen to a lot of atmospheric stuff, or if you play video games, I would definitely recommend these, because these are the type of IEMs that you will be able to hear things behind you. You'll be able to hear them in front of you, on the sides, and behind, and that's just something to do with the way that they image. You actually, when stuff kind of pans off far enough towards the left or the right, you will hear it kind of behind your ears. Like it'll go out to maybe the middle of your shoulders, so between the end of your shoulders and your head, so kind of like not all the way out, but it will go out a little bit from the ears, and then it kind of comes back around, and you'll actually hear it behind you, so you'll hear sound coming from behind you. Let's see, as far as the stage depth goes, the depth is good, and that whole like kind of hearing sounds from behind you or behind the ear kind of helps with that a little bit. Its depth is not the best that I've heard. I have heard better IEMs. For example, the HM20 does depth a little bit better, and I think it also does height a little bit better too. But as far as the Performer 5 goes, they're still pretty good when it comes to that. Let's see. So yeah, the stage width is amazing. Some people might not like it. personally, I think it's fine. I would have liked to see a little bit better, not really separation, I guess layering, just because anything that is closer to the center image is kind of like this shape. It's like kind of rounded. Typically what I would like to see whenever I'm listening to an IEM is more of like a spike for like the vocals, or anything panned more towards the center. I would like to see kind of a spike that juts off, and then like two more spikes. So like, you know, say this is 0% panned, and then this is 50% panned, and then 100% panned would be all the way out to the edges. So like that, you know. Let's see. So the separation is pretty good. It is good. The layering is good as well. Like I said, layering could probably be a little bit better just because of everything in the center, but anything that kind of juts off to the sides is very well separated. The dynamics are pretty good. Punch and slam are good, except for the bass. That's the only thing I should note. Kind of messed that up in my review because I put good dynamics, ample punch and slam. The dynamics are good in everything else but the mids. I mean everything else. Sorry, everything else but the bass. The bass lack dynamics, but as far as the mid goes, the mid range is fine. It is, like I said, it is a little bit on the soft side, but it is there. You can hear the dynamics. I don't have an issue with them. I've heard many IEMs that are much, much worse. Some people were saying that these aren't very dynamic, and yes, that is true for the most part for the bass and the lower mids. A little bit the lower mids, but as far as the mid-range goes, all the way up to the treble, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Vocals are awesome. They're very good. If anything, the tuning, and this is another thing that I've seen from other reviewers, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's just my set or if it's the source that I'm using. So, for example, I have the ES100 Mark II, and I have the Treble 5K, and these are my daily drivers. I use both of them quite regularly. I change them out as, you know, battery dies throughout the day, pick up another one, and I'll go. I actually have, I'm such a nut, I have two ES100 Mark IIs. This one is actually a Mark I, but it's got a Mark II guts inside it. So, but anyway, yeah, so I got two ES100s, and then I have the Treble 5K, and these are my daily drivers. And when powering these IEMs using all three of these, now the Treble 5K is the most neutral of these three, and anything with mids, anything with vocals, if the IEM doesn't, it's like a cold source. So basically, if the IEMs don't have like great mids, and the mids are just okay, sometimes they'll sound a little bit thin, and that's just tuning wise, not quality wise, tuning wise, as far as like the amount of mids go. So these do come across a little bit thin in the vocals with the ES100 and the treble. So that's the one thing that I was trying to get at, is that people were saying that there's not much treble in their sets, but to my ears, these have tons of treble, and it's not lower treble, it's upper treble, it's air, and they have like tons of it. And it doesn't matter if I use the Treble or the ES100s, the air is just insane. So basically, one of the things that I noticed is with certain vocals, they'll come across a little bit lispy, but like it's still good. For example, female vocals, you hear a lot of the breaths, you hear a lot of the like the tongue smacking and like the lip smacking when they're singing, and I like that. If anybody doesn't like that, I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with you. I personally like it because it conveys the vocal performance, and any IEM that displays that usually has good resolution, and these definitely do that. Excuse me. So they are very detailed, but they are a little bit on the bright side, and that, like I said, that is the upper treble. The upper treble is going to be pretty bright, but some people were saying that they don't have that much treble, and I'm not sure if it's the source they were using or what. But what I was going to say, another thing is that, so as far as like vocal performance is conveyed, the ES100 does a way better job than the Q-Delix as far as conveying like vocal performance. So male vocals, female vocals, they just sound a bit better on the ES100 than compared to the Q-Delix. So those are my daily drivers. That's what I use to power my IEMs. So for anyone who is making a review or whatever, if you read the review and it's saying something different, just check out the source. Maybe they're using a different source. I know Z, he had a review. He was talking about these and he didn't quite like them, but he was using like all kinds of amps. And I mean, that guy has too many amps. So I'm not sure what was going on with his set, but I absolutely love these. I absolutely adore them. The tuning is not my ideal tuning, and I don't think it will be some other people's ideal tuning, but the performance is awesome across the board. So they just have a hi-fi quality to them. That's like the best way that I can explain it. They're not like really analytical. They're not like super reference. I mean, they're not really reference at all just because of the tuning, but the way they convey sound is very high fidelity in nature. Like I said, the bass has good speed. The speed is fine. There's nothing wrong with the speed. It's just the texture a little bit, and the dynamics. But like the mid-range, for example, is silky smooth. Like, it's really smooth. The only thing that I noticed with the mids are when you listen to speech, for example. So I listen to a lot of YouTube videos with my earphones on. I mean, I wear them like almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, I really do. I sleep with them. I wake up with them. Like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have one hanging out of my ear, and I'll put it back in my ear, and then I'll go back to sleep. I wear them throughout the day. The only time I really don't ever wear them is when I'm at work, and even then I still do sometimes wear them. So, but anyway, the mids are just like really, really, really like super smooth, super nice. Like I said, the imaging is good. It's super wide. It's a little bit deep. It's, if anything, it's lacking a little bit of height. And let's see, what else do we got? So yeah, the vocals are really good. So that's, I'm sorry guys, I'm like losing track and I'm starting to lose my voice. So to hurry it up a little bit. So one of the things, what I was trying to get at earlier when I was talking about the mids and I talked myself into a circle, is that sometimes the mids can come across as a little bit blurry, a little bit hazy. And another thing that happens, so these are my cons. So the mids can come off a little bit blurry, a little bit hazy when you're listening to speech, especially. Not really in music. It's not really as noticeable in music. Maybe with certain instruments, they might not be very crisp or detailed in the mids. Anything in the treble is fine. But that's the thing that I noticed is, so basically the mids are so soft that sometimes when you listen to speech, they come across as a little bit blurry, a little bit hazy, a little bit ill-defined, especially like in the center image, they're kind of more of a blob. Not really noticeable, like I said. In music, it's not so bad. It's just when you're listening to speech. And then the other thing is that the treble is detached from the mids, so they're not the most cohesive IEM. There is a noticeable separation once you get from the mids to the treble, where there's not only a change in volume, but there's also a timbre change, and there's also a little bit of like timing mismatch, where you can kind of hear it like carry over from the mids, and then all of a sudden, the treble takes over and it hits your ears at a different time. Now, that's bad in one way, and that's also good in another way, and I'll explain it in just a second. Alright, so one of the ways that it's good to have that kind of mismatch there is that it adds to the layering. It depends. It adds to separation too, but it depends on where the instrument lies. So obviously, anything that falls within the mid region is going to be separated from like cymbals, or snare drums, that kind of thing, because typically the treble BA take over at about like 6 to 7 kilohertz. So anything that is real prominent in that section is going to be more separated from the mids. So anything from like 6 kilohertz and down is going to be taken care of by the mid BA, and anything that's like 6 or 7 and over is going to be the treble BA. So any instruments or any synths, anything that you hear that fall within those regions are going to be more separated, because the BA are acting at different timings. So there is some good and there's some bad. Basically, like I said, with speech, you're going to notice that they don't sound very cohesive. It's not really bad. It's not that annoying. I just know for a fact that it's going to catch some people off guard, and some people are not going to like it. Personally, it doesn't really bother me that much. It actually really doesn't bother me at all. But when it comes to music, that adds to the separation, and that adds to the layering. So, but like I said, it just depends on what the instrument is, because it just depends on the frequency range that it lies in. Alright, and so just to kind of carry this off a little bit, the Performer 5 benefits from well-recorded tracks. Just like any other IEM, if you have well-recorded tracks in your library, you're really going to enjoy these. If you do not, you will still enjoy them, but it will be a little bit more noticeable. But if you have anything that's well-recorded, I mean, man, it's just like, these are freaking stellar. The width, like I said, is incredible. Just the performance overall is really good. For $219, these really are a killer pair. When you get them, and this is another thing that I'm kind of curious about, is before I made this review and before I made my written review, I had let these burn in for at least 100 hours. Probably 150 hours. I mean, I played the hell out of these. And I think that kind of goes toward my review and how I feel about the sound compared to some of the other reviews that I've seen, because I did notice when I took them straight out of the box and I played them, that there was like a little bit of like decent amount of timbre in the treble area. The bass I didn't really notice as much until I went to boost it, and then I really noticed it, because I was like, oh wow. Yeah, I mean, as far as the overall sound goes, like I said, they're very, very smooth. They're very detailed. They have lots of air. Vocal performances come across very well. If anything, some people might find the treble a bit fatiguing, and that's that's another interesting part is people, you know, I had a couple friends of mine that said that the treble's kind of tame, but to me that's like the complete opposite. When I listen to them, and listen, guys, I have the Annul VX. I have the Annul VX. You want to talk about treble? Like, sorry, they're freaking caught in a $2 KZ cable, but like I have the VX. Okay, those are like the ultimate fucking resolution monster, fucking like treble heads wet dream of IEMs. And if I listen to those on a regular basis, and then I listen to these, and I see how these could be a little bit fatiguing for some people, like, but then other people say that there's no treble, it blows my mind. So either it's a QC issue or something, or maybe it's their source or something. I don't know if maybe they're using a different aftermarket cable or what it is, but these are a very detailed listen in the treble area. The upper treble is emphasized. There's, like I said, there's a lot of air, and that is how my set plays, and that is how I perceive them. Like I said, I'm still using the stock tips. I'm using the stock cable. As far as source goes, I already told you guys, I'm using the ES100 and the Q5K. Those are my daily drivers. I have probably now about 200 hours on these things, because I've had them for, gosh, over a week or two now. Yeah, it's been like maybe like a week and a half or something like that. 2 weeks. And I mean, I've been listening to them like 24/7. I popped in the VX a few times just to compare them to the VX, and I like them better than the VX, but that's just my personal thing. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, the AFUL Performer 5. If you are someone who is what do you call it? If you're someone who's sensitive to treble, you know, you might want to consider, you know, auditioning a friend set first. You know, maybe not. I don't know. It's the upper treble, so like I said, there's no harshness, there's nothing crazy. Like, we're talking like real nitpicks here. So as far as like the treble goes, it's very good, but some people might be sensitive to the amount of upper treble that these display. And then the other thing, like I said, with speech, there is a bit of a mismatch between the treble and the mids. It goes from being really smooth in the mids to being like really detailed and more resolution in the treble area. You can tell there's more resolution in the treble area because it hits your ears differently. It's not just detailed, but it is more resolving in the treble area than it is in the mids. But yeah, if you guys haven't noticed from this review, because I know I've kind of picked them to shreds and I've talked myself in circles a couple times, but they are a good set of IEMs. I really do like them. And like I said, when I go to do the teardown, I don't want to damage them, so I'm going to be very careful about it. I'm only going to go as far as I am comfortable with, because I do not want to break these. I really do like them. They are a good set, and they do sound very good. Just don't expect any miracles for $220. But as far as their performance goes, let me just frame it this way. I would take these any day over like the Blessing 2 or the Blessing 2 Dusk. Okay? I'm one of the few people who liked the Blessing 2, but not as much as a whole lot of other people. The bass is just mediocre. The treble has a lot of timbre, like it has a lot of BA timbre to it. The roll off is kind of early. The one thing that really stood out on the Blessing 2 to me were the mids. The quality of mid range was really good, and as far as its like replay goes and the way that it images was very like reference, like having a pair of speakers in front of you. But the only problem is that the imaging was very flat. It was very two-dimensional. There wasn't much depth to anything, and there wasn't much height either. But then again, that was also a little while that I had listened to them. Now, whenever I do a review, I always save all my notes. I save my notes from every single IEM, so that way I can compare to my notes that I took, just in case, my mind starts playing tricks on me, and I kind of use that as a guideline. So, if anything, I would say these are definitely more fun tuned, more fun sounding than the Blessing 2. I would say overall, as far as the mid-range quality goes, these are a little bit smoother than the Blessing 2, but they're also less resolving, so you're not going to get as much resolution, but you are going to get pillowy, soft, like really smooth mids out of these. As far as the treble performance goes, I think I would probably prefer these over the Blessing 2. Take that with a grain of salt, because like I said, it's been a while since I heard the Blessing 2. But I just remember the BA timbre on the Blessing 2, and it really turned me off. And I owned two of them. I owned the OG Blessing 2 and the Blessing 2 Dusk. I actually had two Blessing 2 OGs and the Blessing 2 Dusk. So, but anyway, yeah. As far as competition goes, in my mind, these are a very good side grade to the Blessing 2. So, and they're what, $100 less. So, for anybody that already owns the Blessing 2, would I say to get these? No, probably not. Just because you already own the Blessing 2, there's not really a need to get a side grade. If anything, I would save your money and get the next step up, which would be the variations. But if you're somebody who has $200 in your pocket and it's burning a hole in them, and you want something that is going to give you the best bang for buck in the $200 price range, I would very highly recommend these. You can't go wrong. The only way that you could go wrong is if you're, like I said, you're the type of person that's sensitive to upper treble, and you're looking for like a reference tuning, because you're not going to find that here. Or I should say a neutral tuning. You're not going to find a neutral tuning here. These are fun, even though they're not really V-shaped. I don't know what you would call them, because they're not DF, they're not anything like that. The way the bass slopes, they're a little bit different. They're definitely kind of on the bright side a little bit, and they definitely have a ample amount of bass. And as the bass goes towards the sub-bass region, it does get louder. So, but they are well tuned. I will say that. And as far as everything that I said earlier, as far as like the timbre mismatch and the driver timings and whatnot, those are all very, very minor critiques. Those are all very minor nitpicks. If I were to give these like one kind of big weakness, it would be the bass and the dynamics that come with that. Like I said, the mids are fine to me, and the treble seems fine to me, but the bass is probably the weakest aspect of this set, and that's about it, because it's very one note, very one texture kind of thing. You're not going to find numerous textures. You will be surprised from time to time. You'll listen to a certain track and you'll have a sub bass line or some sort of guitar playing or something. Oh, and let me distinguish too one more time. I'll just say this, that the mid bass is different from the sub bass. The sub bass is the weakest part here. The mid bass is actually okay. It still lacks a little bit of punch and a little bit of slam, but overall the mid bass is good quality as far as like speed goes and like macro details. It's still okay. It just lacks a little bit of texture. So, and I think that has to do with the ultra long 60 millimeter bore tube that they used. I think if they went a little bit shorter with it and they didn't go 60 millimeter, or if they added another BA, so say instead of 4 BA they went with 5 BA, and they added a base BA and combined that with the dynamic driver, I think it would be a little bit better. So I'm not sure the quality of driver that they used in these, but I can imagine it is a pretty good quality of driver. It's just not breathing properly because of the tube that they used, and obviously they did that for tuning reasons. So if any recommendation I could give them, it would be to make the tube length on the dynamic driver shorter, shorten it down to like 40 millimeters, and then open it up just a little bit. I'm not sure how narrow it is. They said it's ultra narrow, so I would say at the very most, make it 0.08 millimeters, or 0.07 millimeters, but don't go any further below that, like 0.08 max, and just leave it at that. But anyway, guys, I'm not sure what else to say with that. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll take a look from time to time, and I'll let you guys know my thoughts on anything. And like I said, I'll link to my Facebook too. So if you guys want to take a look at the review on there, there's a couple mistakes. Like I said, I didn't take price into account with my rating, or I didn't make it clear, so people might think that, oh, well, these are really good compared to like $1,000 IEM. No, the rating is based off of the price. And then the other thing is the ample punch slam, the good dynamics. I mean that as far as like anything other than the bass, and maybe other than the mid bass. So like the mid range through the treble is fine. It's just like any other IEM that I've heard. It's just anything under like 500 hertz lacks a little bit of dynamics. So anyway, guys, just wanted to give another thank you to HIFIGO for sending these to me. I really do appreciate it. I know they sent them out to quite a few reviewers. It's been a big push to try to get these out into the market, but I do appreciate them sending them to someone who is relatively small like me. I thank them for their trust, and like I said, these are a very good IEM. I'm not going to destroy them. I know you guys might be a little bit sad. I will take them apart, but I'm not going to break them just because I would like to keep them as a reference for future reviews. So anyway, with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I hope you have a great week this next week coming up. I have a few more reviews and teardowns to go over. I would like to get out a review for the HM20, and then I also have the CXS. I need to get those done, and I also have the I also have the Truth Ear Hexa. I made them clear, clear-ish. The resin's kind of dark, but anyway. So we have the Hexa here. I'm going to go into these a little bit. I don't know if you saw in my post, but I took the face plates off already and showed off the crossovers and whatnot. Pretty clever design, pretty simple design, and I'll kind of talk about the tuning of these, and I'll talk about where these fit compared to these. Just a hint, not close. So they're $80, and they sound like $80 or less. They don't sound like this, so there's no comparison. So don't think that these are going to outperform these in any way. I know people are saying they're like a poor man's blessing too. That's kind of a stretch. They're good, but they're not that good. So I think they were priced accordingly. And as far as these go, I think that they were priced very well. And I think that they would have done well still at $300. So anyway, cut myself short. That will be all for today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you later.